Welcome to Vision Chat's spooky series.
So, do you want to hear my ghost story or do you want to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. All right. So, I think this one's a pretty old story. It's been around for a while. At least here in the US, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, Dina, out by you. It's called the Jersey Devil. Have you heard of the Jersey Devil? Okay. So, I mean, I faintly remember hearing about this, but not really paying too much attention or really looking into it or anything. But the Jersey Devil is a mythical creature from folklore that is said to live in or come from Pine Barrens, which is a large wooded area located in southern New Jersey. So as the name says, it is from New Jersey, a state here on the East Coast in the United States. And the area that it's said to come from gets the name Pine Barrens. Barrens because the land, so back in the day when settlers first came to the US, they were trying to farm the land and they couldn't. They couldn't get any crops to grow because the soil was just, it wasn't good for growing anything, really. It was too like acidic, it was too sandy. Anyway, so they had to abandon it. And so they just called it barren because really there was nothing that they could grow on it. And I'm not familiar with this area because I'm not from the East Coast. So if we have any listeners that are familiar with New Jersey and this area in particular, maybe you guys could comment or let us know what you think about this space. But my understanding is that it is full of pine trees. It's very large. Holds a lot of different species of like wildlife. There's swamps and wetlands and marshes and all kinds of things out there. So it looks, I did look up some pictures and it looks beautiful, but it also looks kind of creepy. It's pretty big and dark. So it doesn't surprise me that a story like this would come from there. So the Jersey Devil started coming around, I guess, like very, very, very early on. We're talking like 1700s. And the way that I guess they said this creature came to be was because back in the day, there was this lady, a local woman named Mrs. Leeds. That's Leeds, Mrs. Leeds. This is important because this Jersey Devil is also known as the Leeds Devil because there's, as with folklore, there are many origin stories, but a lot of them seem to tie back into the name Leeds for some reason. So anyways, so there was this local woman who had a lot of children. She already had 12. And then when she found out that she was pregnant for the 13th time, she was so angry and frustrated that she yelled out in her frustration, "Let it be the devil," or something like, "Let the devil take it." She was so angry and so frustrated because she didn't want to have more babies, right? But so the story goes that when she finally delivered the baby, it came out looking like the devil or looking like some creature with wings and horns, and it was screeching when it was birthed and flew out of a window and went to live in the wetlands next door. That's one story. Another story goes a little bit differently, same scenario, but the baby is said to have been born like normally, and then later developed wings and started looking kind of funky and looked like a demon, and then it flew away. In the story that I read in particular, the little demon baby flew out of the house through a chimney. So it was kind of funny. You picture that. But anyway, so that's one story. Another story is that, like here in the US during the 1700s, there was a revolution and the US was breaking free from Britain. And during the revolution, there were a lot of areas where there were battles. And in this particular area, the story goes that there was a young local woman who fell in love with a British soldier. And the people, when they found out, they were really upset about it and they cursed them. And they said, your baby's cursed and is going to look like the devil. And so that when they had a baby, that's what it looked like. So those are some of the stories that come around. Like, how did this thing get created? There have been many reports over hundreds of years from people in the area, and some of them have come from people. So not just regular folks, but people like policemen have reported seeing this, government officials. There's also known, like, one of the most famous people, I guess that you could say, that reported a sighting of the Jersey Devil was a man named Joseph Bonaparte, which is Napoleon Bonaparte's brother and former king of Spain. And I guess he was here on a hunting expedition in the nearby woods of New Jersey, and he allegedly reported seeing this creature. So that's what's in the books about, like, how, like the people that have seen this. They say that when you see the Jersey Devil, like, bad things are going to happen. It's also seen kind of not just as it's scary and creepy, but that it's a bad omen and something's either going to take a turn for the worse or something bad was going to happen. So what's interesting is that in about 1957, the Department of Conservation is believed to have discovered a corpse of what they call an unknown beast. So some people are saying, well, there's your proof. It finally died. There it was. But I mean, no conclusive evidence. No one's come out and said, hey, here, we've done the science and we did an autopsy and this is what it is. So is it possible that it's still out there? Is it possible that it's dead? We don't know. But that's the story of the Jersey Devil.
Yeah, nice. I think if the government knew that it was alive and died and stuff like that, because of fear amongst other people, I don't think they will release it or go out with it.
Yeah.
Kind of just brush it under the rug in a sense.
Deny, deny, deny. Nothing to see here.
Yeah. Stuff like that doesn't exist, you know?
So you've never heard it?
No?
Okay, yeah. It's more popular, I think, East Coast, I want to say. Like I said, I heard it faintly. I think I remember hearing something about it, but it's just been around for so long. We're talking like 200 years, over 200 years. Like it's been around for a really long time. And I find it interesting that there's just been so many different people that it kept kind of the story going. And, it was so popular too. I think that at one point they named it, and this is not true, but they named it the official state demon of New Jersey. And so many people believe it, that they really do believe that it's real. So they did. I don't know if this is true, so I will say I didn't look into this part. I just read it that in as recent as 2023, they did like a survey, and it was a university, Fairleigh Fairleigh Dickinson University. I don't know if this is true, but supposedly there was a poll taken in the area of New Jersey, and they asked the residents if they believed that the Jersey Devil was real. And according to that survey, 1 in 6 people thought it was real, as recent as 2 years ago.
Yeah, wow.
Isn't it funny?
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I feel like there's a lot of different beings in the US.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay, should I tell a story?
Yeah.
So this story is about a man, and this story has been told, like, passed down a few generations. And it's about a man that was very down to earth, very stubborn, and he didn't believe in anything spiritual, angels, or like ghosts or anything. And he loved being out in nature, especially going out on the mountains, being by himself, not having people around him. He really enjoyed that. So he found a place, and he was thinking about, oh, I'm just gonna camp there in my tent. But there was a farmer that was living next to this place that actually had a cabin that he can rent So he got the key from the farmer. And after he got the key, he spent the whole day getting up to this cabin in the woods. And when he was there, he like prepared the cabin, like put his stuff away and locked the door. He lay down in a bunk bed, but like on the lower floor, I guess, of the bunk bed. And then he fell asleep because he was so tired from all the traveling or like hiking that day. But in the middle of the night, he got a feeling that he was pushed against the wall, and he was starting to fight this feeling of being pushed against the wall. So he ended up rolling out of the bed onto the floor. And then he went back to sleep again because he was like, what is this? And then he fell asleep, and then he woke up again by the same feeling that somebody was pushing him against the wall, and he was fighting back so hard that he ended up falling down on the floor on the other side of the bed. And then the next morning he woke up and he was thinking automatically like, okay, this is something I made up. I was probably so tired last night and maybe I dreamt it. And then he went outside for like fishing and just doing like different activities. And when the night came again, he did the same, where he slept on the lower bunk bed and then woke up in the middle of the night having this feeling someone or something is pushing him against the wall. And again, he was fighting against this thing or whatever it was, ended up falling down on the floor again. And he was like, okay, I'm starting to get a little worried. So I probably should sleep on the top of the bunk bed instead of under, like on the down floor. And then he started trying to fall asleep again, but this time he kind of heard different noises coming from the room, and this guy was all alone. There was nobody in this cabin, and he thought it was like, okay, this is enough. Like, I'm starting to get worried and afraid. I don't know what this is. So he ended up going into the top bunk bed where he could lay there, but he was heard a lot of different noises. But he managed to fall asleep, and then after a while, because of this noise, he was going down again to sleep on the bottom bunk bed. And the next day, when he woke up, everything was like, oh my god, this is so stupid. It was just my imagination. He also went again, like out hunting or fishing, and then he stayed outside until it was night again. He was locking the door, which he did the few other days before he fell asleep. And then he started like try to fall asleep again, and then the same thing happened. He woke up having this feeling of somebody or something pushing him against the wall. And this time he got scared and he decided, I'm getting out of here. This is enough. So he already packed his bag and he was rushing against the door. But there was something in the room that was like, oh, something is different here. And everything in the room had switched places. Everything was a mess. Like everything he had packed was over the floors. And then he got distracted by something touched him when he was going for the door handle, and then he noticed that the door was wide open, and he was so sure he had locked the door at night before he went to bed. So he was like, okay, now it's time to go. I'm taking my stuff or whatever and I'm just leaving. And he went down to the farmer because it was in the middle of the night, like he couldn't really get anywhere except to the farm that this farmer was living at. So he managed to fall asleep in the attic, or where they have like hay and stuff like that. And then the farmer wasn't surprised to find the man laying there. He said to the man, I figure you will be back soon. It's rare that people stay there for so long. And the farmer explained that multiple people had been feeling a presence in this cabin for years after a girl had been killed by somebody in the bottom bunk bed with a knife.
Oh no. That's so scary. My wonder is like, why didn't the farmer say something? Hey, by the way, my cabin maybe is haunted.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was because he knew, okay, this is a stubborn man that don't believe in any of this stuff.
Yeah.
So I guess he won't feel it or sense it or
Or have you heard where it is?
no, I don't know where it is, but maybe it's around the area. I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, I did have the pleasure of going up to at least to see one cabin in Norway, and they are very beautiful and they're in very beautiful spaces. But they are very isolated.
Yeah, they're very isolated and very old. It's a lot of lumber. Yeah, I think it's a lot of different energies and different cabins around here and there.
Well, I have another story. This is about another creature, and maybe you've heard of this one. I don't know. Have you heard of the chupacabra?
No,
No.
I don't think so.
Oh, oh, Stina, this is a good one. I'm so excited because I mean, I'm kind of like, well, I'm older than you, so I grew up hearing this, and I'm kind of sick of it. But I figured that there would be some people who maybe hadn't heard of it, and especially maybe you, because it was something that started coming up around the 90s. And don't hear too much about it nowadays, but I'm sure some people listening are going to be like, oh, yeah, I heard about this. And yeah, well, like I said, though, there may be some people that haven't. So the chupacabra is this creature that people started reporting. Like I said, I remember it from the 90s. But when I was doing research for this, I came across someone that was reporting that it goes back as far back as the 70s, that there was actually a very specific incident that happened in the 1970s. So originally the chupacabra comes from Puerto Rico. And in the 70s, there was a town called Mocha, Puerto Rico, and it's still there. But people first started reporting that they were hearing shrieking noises in the night. And I guess in one particular morning, they came out of their homes and discovered that there were a lot of farm animals that had been killed. They were dead. There were goats, cows, pigs, geese. And the thing that scared everyone was the fact that they were all killed in the same way. They were not missing pieces, so it wasn't like a typical animal attack that maybe came and started eating. So the flesh was intact, but they were completely drained of blood. And all of them only had like 2 puncture wounds. And so the people in the town of Mocha started calling it El Vampiro de Mocha, which is just the vampire of Mocha. And this seemed to go on for quite a number of years. And then it kind of went quiet and resurfaced again in the 90s. And this time it again in Puerto Rico, people started reporting sightings. And what they were saying that it looked like was kind of like at first they were saying it was kind of like a lizard, but that would walk on hind legs. And they reported seeing like grayish, greenish skin, red eyes. But that's not very typical. The more typical description of what it looked like was more like a dog or like a coyote or like a small mammal, like maybe a small bear or something. But again, it was kind of hairless. It had like a protruding spine, so you could see the bones, sharp teeth, that kind of thing. So what happened was that this time, all these reports were coming from Puerto Rico about the chupacabra, which is just goat. It means goat sucker. Then, though, you started hearing stories from Mexico. And then the rest of Latin America and South America started reporting. Places from the Dominican Republic, Argentina, Bolivia, Chile, like all over the place. And then you started hearing them in the US. But it's a very specific area in the US, so it's the Southwest. And it's very hot. So apparently the chupacabra is a creature that maybe likes heat or likes warm places, because there was a time period in Puerto Rico, I don't remember the year, but they said it was like a cooler weather, and there were no reports of any kind of attacks during that time. So they're kind of theorizing that the chupacabra likes warm weather. So anyways, the killings all involved mostly farm animals, but there were some people also that were being reported, not many, but some. And all of them died the exact same way. So again, it was like not dismissed so easily as an animal attack, because there weren't pieces missing. Flesh was mostly intact, but there were puncture wounds, and they were all like drained of blood. And in some places, people started making a connection possibly with UFO, because they were saying that when you will see a chupacabra, most likely you would see a UFO sighting around the same time. So there's been some maybe some possible connections there. But this was even coming up. I mean, I remember this even coming up in like some news channel reports, at least in the Spanish channels. I'm not sure about the English ones, but in Spanish channels, they were reporting people were just frantic during this time and they were scared. They didn't know what it was. In 1996, so by 1996, a lot of the reports were coming from the US and they were coming mainly from like Florida, which is not Southwest, but it's still South and it's warm, in Texas. They said that like one of the Florida Police Department spokesperson said people were calling in hysterics. So again, people were scared. And now people were the government, I think, were trying to figure out how to, calm people and try to say, hey, this is not a monster. So some, like in El Salvador, the government came out and said that the attacks were being done by vampire bats. And that the reason for that was because I guess their natural food source had been compromised and the bats were starving. And so they were coming after other food sources that they typically wouldn't come after. That same year, though, like the Mexican newspaper reported that there had been 46 domestic attacks involving more than 300 animals and 4 people. So we're talking a lot. So this was not like small little things. I mean, this is why I think there was so much hysteria. And the stories just kept growing and growing during this whole time. Since then, like I said, we haven't really heard too much about the Chupacabra. And I don't know if anybody, so maybe somebody listening again can bring us up to date. Like, I think maybe they solved the mystery, but I'm not sure. I did find something that said wildlife experts found out that most of the sightings were probably just actually coyotes or dogs that had been infected with like some type of disease, like a skin disease that caused the fur to fall out, leaving the appearance of like gray skin or like they were bony animals, but they did look pretty creepy. And so they're not, surprised that people were saying these are, other creatures, but they were actually maybe just diseased coyotes. So maybe you believe that, or maybe you believe the Chupacabra is out there, maybe hibernating again for another 20, 30 years. And who knows, maybe when it's about that time now, might be popping up any one of these days. So maybe be on the lookout for that.
And it doesn't seem like it's a coincidence.
It's a really cool story. You can believe one way or another.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to have an update in the future about that. Okay, so my second story is actually about a place here in the same city that I'm living in. And while you were visiting with your daughter, we went there. It's like a very famous cathedral that you can find in this town. And one of the people that is buried there is Saint Olaf. This guy was a Viking and was the king of Norway when it was, I think they were fighting against England and Spain, I think, for the land of England. Or maybe it was the French, the Spanish one, and Norway. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. But something happened that he got an arrow in his eye that went through his head and then he died. And then Norway was out of the competition for the country or the land that was over there. But there is a saying that when they buried him in the cathedral, I don't know if it was built back then or what it was, but his nails and hair are still growing like after his death. I don't know if it's until this day or not, but yeah, his hair and nail were growing and it did for a while. But this is not the story, but I'm just giving some context because this building has been here for centuries, like hundreds of years and stuff like that. And it has been a lot of different monks and different people that has been working in the building and stuff like that. But right now we don't really have any monks that I know of that is staying at the place or working there. But there has been people that has been working there or visit the place where they can see somebody going around in the monk's clothing with the hoodie and the brown like dress almost, and they have been alone in this place and it shouldn't be anybody, but they have seen like a figure of a monk that is going around. Also, other people have heard somebody singing or chanting in a way. Well, there shouldn't be any sound in the place. or that can feel the vibration of somebody walking next to them or in front of them, but there's nobody there. I personally haven't felt that, but I know there is tons of monks and people and holy figures that is buried on this ground or this site.
That's so interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, me neither until today.
That should be part of the story that they tell when people visit. I mean, I am surprised that there were what do they call them? The tombstones were still underground at this
Yeah.
cathedral. Like the whole bottom is like catacombs. And not to mention that right outside of it, within a couple steps, they have the cemetery. Very, very old cemetery. So it doesn't surprise me if there were even more ghost stories around that place.
Yeah, I think only the rich ones got buried around the area, that they had enough money to get a spot or a place.
Sure.
But it's a lot of people that is buried there, and you never know like what was before the cathedral, who lived there, what happened. Yeah,
Right.
it's interesting.
Yeah, or even how it was built. Since it was built so long ago, I'm sure people must have had accidents there or died there, even building it. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful cathedral, but it is very old and lots of dead bodies there. So, yeah, go see the beautiful cathedral or check out the catacombs and the cemetery.
Yeah.
You know what also might be haunted? The other place we visited, what was it called?
Oh, the island.
Yeah.
Munkholmen. Mm-hmm.
Munkholmen. That one to me felt a little creepy.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff, I guess, that has been going on there. So
That might be an interesting one to look into if you're looking for more ghost stories.
yeah, I'll do that.
Woman ghost stories.
Yeah.
Your first story, actually, the guy that was at the cabin, that reminded me of. This isn't part of the ghost stories. I wasn't planning to mention it, but we can keep it. I've been waking up every night, like 3 or 4 in the morning, sometimes earlier, sometimes even 1 in the morning, and I'm hearing things outside my window, and I don't know what they are. And then I think I'm going crazy. I'm hearing like howling, and sometimes it's one, sometimes it's a few, and sometimes it's a lot. Like, I don't know how to describe it. And maybe sometimes barking, but it's mostly the howling, and it's like it goes on for a while and it just stops. And one night I heard howling, like a lot of howling, and then a bunch of sirens. Weird. I'm not saying they're connected. I'm just saying it's just really weird. And my daughter, I was telling her, like, I don't know if I'm dreaming or like, but I remember waking up and getting up and going to the window and listening, unless I'm sleepwalking. I don't know, but last night there was like something I heard, like an explosion. And again, it was 3 in the morning. So I don't know if I'm actually hearing these things or not, but I do have a recording one night because I'm like, okay, I have to prove to myself whether I'm losing my mind or this is actually happening. Because again, it's like I'm asleep and I'm waking up hearing this. So I do have a recording, but it just captured like the last part of it. And but you can hear howling. So if I hear anything tonight or like within the next few days, I'll still record and maybe we can put it on in one of the episodes if you guys want to hear what I'm hearing. And I don't know what it is.
Yeah, for sure. That would be cool.
Yeah. And my daughter's saying it's probably dogs or maybe coyotes. But we live near a forest preserve, but it's not that close. There probably are some coyotes there, but this sounds like a lot. And why am I now suddenly hearing them? I never heard them before. And it's been like a couple weeks, I think. It's pretty creepy. Yeah, it's weird and creepy.
I thought at first that came to my mind was like, oh, maybe it's a neighbor having huskies or something. I remember when I was a kid, like we used to go home by ourselves from school, and then we always crossed a place where they had a lot of dogs and they were breeding dogs and stuff like that, and they had huskies and they were like howling and barking and stuff like that. That's probably why I thought that, but yeah, you never know. That's quite weird.
It is. And if it's huskies, that's fine. I just think it's really, really weird that they're picking the middle of the night to do this.
Yeah,
Why are they howling?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I would like to know like what's going on and why did they just start? Did somebody just get huskies that want to howl in the middle of the night? Like,
or moved into the around the area. I'm not sure.
yeah, maybe we have new neighbors. I don't know. I hope that there's actually a logical explanation and that it's not
Yeah.
something. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, that it's not.
being around. Yeah.
Yeah, or even like you know how sometimes animals sense that something's going to happen before it happens.
Oh, yeah, like a natural disaster or something. Oh
Yes.
no.
Yes, exactly. Like a natural disaster or something.
Yeah.
And then I heard the explosion last night, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's also strange.
Well, yeah, my daughter's like, oh, probably somebody's car. You heard somebody's car, somebody crashed, or, you know, there was something that fell. And I'm like, but this sounded like an explosion.
Yeah.
And then I waited to hear sirens, but I didn't hear anything. And the thing is this, I might have been like, okay, well, whatever, you know, I was dreaming. But my cat jumped. At the same time that the explosion happened, I woke up and I saw my cat go boom from the window. So she heard it too. And then she kind of came by me and was kind of like scared. Hopefully it's something that can be easily explained, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
If not, take 2 weeks, travel, go somewhere else, save
I'm out of
yourself.
here.
Yeah.
I will be out of the country for the next month.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'll keep you posted. I'm gonna try to record
Yeah.
what I'm hearing, but yeah.
It's exciting. Yeah.
So keep you posted.
Yeah. Nice.
All right. Thanks for listening.
If you like the spooky series, please give us a follow and check out our website visionofprofoundhealing.com.